The Jaxson Dart era is underway, ladies and gentlemen. We break down all the latest from Jaxson Dart's impressive debut, and of course, look forward with Malik Nabers potentially missing the entire season for the New York Giants. All this and more coming up on Rich Sports Talk. And the Jaxson Dart era begins with an impressive win over the undefeated Los Angeles Chargers. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rich Sports Talk, your home for all the latest and greatest in New York sports. If you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of our latest videos and contests. If you're joining us during the live stream on YouTube, make sure to comment in below, super chat to donate to the channel, and to jump to the front of the line. And if you want to take us on the go and miss the show, we are available wherever podcasts are streaming. So I'll be frank on this show. I thought that the Giants were rushing Jaxson Dart into the starting lineup, but it's clear that this team needed a spark, and it's clear that this organization needed a different form of energy around this team. And to give them credit and give Jaxson Dart credit, it was an inspiring win today. I still have questions about the coaching decisions throughout the pace of this game. I have questions about the long-term impact of Dart this season. But for at least one day, Jaxson Dart has made Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen breathe a sigh of relief. Because let's face it, their jobs are tied to Jaxson Dart. And for one day, Jaxson Dart gives this team and this organization and this franchise some much-needed hope. And Dart was impressive today. 13 of 20 for 111 yards with a touchdown, added 54 yards on the ground and a touchdown as well. This was an impressive win for the Giants. There were some things with the coaching decision that I will go back and look, but the big story today was Jaxson Dart. He looked comfortable out there. He didn't look overwhelmed. He didn't look like the moment was too big for him, which is what you see with a lot of these rookies. He looked poised. He was tough, took a lot of hits today, which we'll get into in a little bit. Moved the ball around, showed off great athleticism, was able to stretch plays, did a great QB draw on the first drive of the game for his first career touchdown, then a nice shuffle pass to Theo Johnson as the game progressed. There was a lot to like about this game. And to me, Jaxson Dart also covered up for a lot of warts in this game. I have a lot to talk about with the defense, the play calling, and the coaching decision. But Jaxson Dart elevated this team, which is what you want a franchise quarterback to do. He elevated this team over poor decisions in this game, over bad decisions in this game, over bad incidents in this game, and was able to walk out of there with a win. Now, some of the things I did not like in this game. 4th and 2 early in the first half. Giants are trying to keep the Chargers out of field goal range. Clear the Chargers are trying to drive them off sides. Carter jumps offside. The very next play, a touchdown pass, which made this a close game. Then at 21-10, I love the play design to Theo Johnson, having the shuffle pass to him. But when you looked at this game, I said this next drive is a statement for this defense. This is a big statement drive for this defense. Can the defense close the door? And the defense allowed a Hampton 54-yard run and then a 2-point conversion. The other thing, too, that really could have changed this game, the Giants, I feel, were lucky that they were able to get out of this, was the late in the fourth quarter, Giants are in goal, 2 runs up the middle, Scatterbo can't get in. It's 4th down, 21-18 ball game, and I'm thinking to myself, they got to take the points here. I understand that you feel that you want to give your rookie quarterback an opportunity, but here's the way I looked at it. If you believed in this defense, which was getting after Justin Herbert in this game, you take those points because it does something that's very different, because teams now have to play for touchdowns because field goals are becoming too easy. We're seeing routinely now kickers kick 60 to 65-yard field goals. And on the new kickoff rules, you're starting closer to the 30, 35-yard line. So if the Giants take 3 there and make it a 6-point game, You are now forcing the Chargers to have to go the length of the field to get 6 points, where if they hold on fourth down, which they did, now they only have to get 3 points to tie the game. They don't have to go necessarily too far. So I didn't love the play calling, especially with this defense. If you really trust this defense, let them go out there and let them play in those key positions. But overall, you come away with a big win. I feel that Jaxson Dart's performance overshadowed a lot of some of the baffling coaching decisions in this game. But overall, I think Jaxson Dart, this is a great foundation start. No turnovers in this game, looked very comfortable in this offense, ran this offense very well, was able to move the ball around in this offense. We'll get back to Jaxson Dart, and one trend that if the Giants want Jaxson Dart to continue to build off of this impressive performance, that they will have to do. And again, super chat to jump to the front of the line. Comment section is open if you want to get in there. But of course, the biggest news in this game was Malik Nabers. It appears that from reports, they're reporting that he has likely torn his ACL. No exact confirmation yet. But this is a frustrating loss because we're talking about, and I tweeted this earlier, the New York Jets and the New York Giants have to come to some agreement to try to get grass, especially with the World Cup getting grass in that stadium. They got to get grass. Because think of it this way, and I tweeted this earlier today at Rich Sports Talk. You are talking about, in the span of now 3 years, that the Giants and the Jets have lost arguably the most important player on their franchise to this turf, to debilitating lower body injuries. With the Jets, it was Aaron Rodgers and the Achilles, and now today it was Malik Nabers with the ACL. If you're especially going to pay these guys, this is going to be something they need to invest in, and I've always been a proponent that the field should be grass as many times as possible because you just look at the numbers. The injuries on grass are nowhere near what they are on turf, especially with the MetLife turf. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the way they're laying it. I don't know if it's because they use so much concerts and use on that turf that it gets used all the time. Something is with that turf where it just seems to always cause these injuries, and players complain about it. And it's not just the local players, it's players all over. But this is a devastating injury on multiple fronts. Number one, you lose your best player. Number two, you lose your most exciting player. And number three, you lose the player that probably was going to help with your young quarterback's development. Because for 1 week, you're able to scheme around it. You were able to rally without it. But here's the thing you have to look at. Whenever you have a massive injury like this, it is a trickle-down effect. Now without Malik Nabers, Wan'Dale Robinson becomes your number one. Darius Slayton becomes your number two. Jalen Hyatt becomes your number three. Bo Collins becomes your number four. With your number ones, you felt okay. Like if Malik Nabers was still healthy, but you lost Wan'Dale, you lost Slayton, you could be like, okay, we can move numbers 2, 3, and 4 around and not have a big loss. Now Brian Dable is going to have to figure out how to get Theo Johnson more involved in this passing game, how to get the wide receivers, scheme them open more. But I also think part of this too is now you're going to have to rely more on this running game. Because you can tell Scadaboo doesn't just add an impact with the way he runs, but he brings an energy to this offense that certain players like a Malik Nabers does. And to me, Scadaboo right now is your Energizer Bunny. He's what's powering this offense and what's adding that oomph to that offense. So the Giants over the next 13 games have to figure out how to not only survive without a wide receiver one, but be able to put these receivers in a position where they can help their young quarterback. And I would also say this. If I'm the Giants, I would look to move on from Russell Wilson as soon as possible. I would look to move him because, to me, you have a valuable backup in Jameis Winston, who I think in some ways might be even a better fit with Jaxson Dart. From reports from Connor Hughes, like him and Jaxson Dart got along very well, where Russell Wilson's kind of off doing his own thing. With Russell Wilson, again, some of the ways he's commenting that he's not happy, and you could just tell today on the sideline he was not happy as a backup. Like, I would be calling around the league and trying to get him. Because, look, you look at all the injuries around this league with quarterbacks, I feel a team would give you something. And one thing I would look at is wide receiver. Can you find another receiver or another playmaker to add to this offense? You're not going to get a number one But could you get a good number 3 or number 2 to add into that room that maybe meshes a little bit differently? That is something that I really think this team really needs to do. And again, comment section is open. King Jin, he was there for us at 7. Giants made the right pick. Look, I think this was a good pick for Brian Daboll. I understand that there's going to be teams that will look at this and go, okay, he looks phenomenal. But I also want to remind fans too, Daniel Jones also had an incredible first game with the team. I always say it's great to have this enthusiasm and excitement for a quarterback, but at the same time, you also need to let them develop and let them have mistakes, because there's going to be, usually there is, no matter how talented the players, there's going to be a game where they have 2 or 3 turnovers, and it's how they bounce back from that performance you want to see. I always remember one of the most defining performances I ever saw for a first-round quarterback was Ryan Leaf. Ryan Leaf started off very hot. His first 2 games looked incredible, but I'll never forget there was the game against Kansas City, week 3 of his rookie year, where he was 1 of 15 for 4 yards and 5 turnovers. And you could just see that the confidence there was shot, and you saw it translate over, and you saw him frustrated and taking it out on the teammates, taking it out on the media. That's one of the things you need to see is when adversity does hit, and you could also say Nabers, the injury for Nabers is a lot of adversity for this team, how that Jaxson Dart will respond. Because, look, the Giants, it doesn't get easier. And this was an impressive win over a very good football team. Let's not sugarcoat it. The Chargers are a good football team. And I understand people like, well, their offensive line is all injured. They're down their starting tackles. They're down to their backup linemen. Okay, but you still have to play them. You still have to go out and beat them. And now all of a sudden, you look for this Giant team. You look that they play the Saints, who look horrendous. If they can go down to New Orleans and come out with a win, 2-3, hosting the Eagles on Thursday night, you all of a sudden look, Broncos game, maybe a little bit easier. 49ers at home. 49ers are banged up. I don't think that this is a team that can get to the playoffs. But I do think this is a team that can be a fun team to watch, and especially with this defense. Abdul-Carr with multiple quarterback hits today. Brian Burns with the clutch sack late in this game on Justin Herbert. They were getting after, and this is how this team's going to win. Like, this team, if they get to 20 points, this defense has to shut people out. And look, Dexter Lawrence had an incredible interception today. It was almost funny, too, because the Giants had 2 situations now where they were in goal, and they only got 3 points out of 2 tries. The Dexter Lawrence interception return, they could only get 3. And then, of course, late in the game, when they were on the doorstep, I still think they should have gone the 3. But overall, I thought this was a big win. I think that now you've put yourself, if you go to New Orleans, now you have something to build off of. And right now, this is a foundation year. Both these New York football teams are at different timelines, but they want to have some established foundation. And to me, I feel like both these teams are looking at building in different ways. And for the Giants, you needed a strong foundation with Jaxson Dart, and I think they got it. Refs carrying the Chargers. Rattler had a good game against the Bills until the D let them down. Look, yeah, there was a lot of penalties in this game. I'm not going to lie, King, that I thought were a little ticky-tacky. But overall, I thought the Giants did a good game. And the weird thing with this game is I feel like if you watch this game, the Chargers could not get in sync. The Chargers could not get in sync at all. And one thing that I kept going back to was I didn't love their game plan, if I'm totally honest. And one of the things that kept coming up to me, and I kept wondering why they were doing this, was the Chargers in this game kept trying to throw the ball all over the place. They kept trying to throw the ball all over the place. And I remember one of the players that really stuck out to me, and again, I think he's going to be a really special player, is Amarian Hampton. He had 12 carries for 120 yards. And there are times in this game, I'm looking at it with the Chargers only had 13 rush attempts. One of them was from Herbert. But the Chargers threw the ball 41 times for 203 yards, 2 interceptions. Meanwhile, their ground game with Hampton, they gave him 12 carries. He had 128 yards. He had more than half the passing yards in this game. this Giant defense was getting after this passing attack, and especially with the offensive line, I was surprised with how they were game managing. Like, I felt the Giants, there were points when Amari and Hampton wasn't being contained in this game, and they just kept going away from it. And that really surprised me with a Harbaugh team. Like, Harbaugh loves to establish the run. Both those brothers love to lean on the ground game. And especially with it working that way today, I thought that was very interesting. But I think the telltale sign of this game, too, was also penalties. Giants were better in penalties, only 43 yards compared to the Chargers, 107. Third down efficiency, Giants were over 500, almost 500, 7-15. Chargers are 4 of 12. And the big thing, too, like, you look at the stats from the outside, Chargers had over 88 more yards of offense, averaged 6 yards of play in this game, but it was the turnovers. It was the interceptions in this game. And that shows you that if the Giants team, like this offense, they don't have to be super flashy. If they don't turn the ball over and they're efficient, they can win football games. I mean, the Giants today, like, here's a good thing, because it was a weird game to watch, because it was one of those games where I'm watching and you couldn't feel the domination of the time possession. But what do you think the time possession for the Giants was? The time possession for the Giants today was 35 and a half minutes. They controlled the clock in this game, and they did a really good job of it. But again, the big storylines after this game, like we talked about, Nabers, I hope he's healthy again. It's just frustrating when you see such a talented player like that who's unfortunately injured in a way. And again, non-contact, came down in a weird leap. They're saying it's the ACL. Originally, I thought it was going to be the Achilles, just the way he landed. But it is still a frustrating loss. And it's a hard one, too, because this is also one of those players that when you looked at the development of this young quarterback, one of the things you looked at was, okay, we have a true number one receiver he can go to, that maybe he can force some passes into where we would say don't try to force it, but we know what he can do and how big of a player, how many plays he can make. So if I'm the Giants, this is a frustrating loss, but this is also an encouraging start for Jaxson Dart's career. I love what Scadaboo's bringing, but, you know, it was a game, too. Like, once all came out of the game, Herbert was on his back. But this also brings up a very good point. I think it's something that will get overshadowed in this win, but I do think it is incredibly important because Herbert got hit a lot, but he's only sacked 2 times. One thing that the Giants, and this was why when it was announced Jaxson Dart was going to be the starter, I came on this show and I said, the thing I worry about the most is this offensive line, because young quarterbacks will tend to hold on to the football. Young quarterbacks will try to make plays happen even when they're not there. So they'll tend to hold, they'll try to run around. And Jaxson Dart today got hit. And there was one point he was hobbling around, holding his hamstring. And I'm like, oh God, please no. This is what concerns me about the Giants, is this offensive line. This Giant team cannot allow this kid to get sacked over 5 times a game. I did the math. There are 13 games remaining in this season. If the Giants allow Dart to get sacked 5 times a game, that is 65 sacks the remainder of the season. Now, do I think they're going to give up 6 or 5 sacks a game? No. But we've also seen this team, week 1 against the Commanders, Russell was running around for his life and was able to avoid a lot of sacks because of his mobility and also his savviness as a veteran. We saw him run around a lot against the Chiefs last week, and I'm looking at some of these defenses, especially the Eagles defense. You know they are going to want to light up Jaxson Dart. And this is my big thing. Protect Dart. Even if it might cost you a couple big plays, if you have to max protect or take a back into the backfield that takes away a receiver, you have to protect him. Because the biggest thing that will derail this season and derail his development is an injury or him losing confidence. And today, again, it's your first game. It's all that excitement. It's all that juice. It's all that energy that you have. It's easy. It's almost like you're Superman today. You can get up and bounce back from those hits. But if you get another 5 or 6 sacks, and it's not even sacks, just a lot of hits. If you get 5 or 6 sacks next week against the Saints, and then a short week and you go into Philly, or you play Philly, and Philly is going to light you up like a Christmas tree, I would also caution this coaching staff, too, to be aware of Jaxson Dart. There are some games that I don't want to take rookies out of games. I hate doing that. But if they feel like he gets nicked up at a point, like today, not today, but like you saw him hobbling with the hamstring. If there's a point in this season where he's getting hurt or he loses his mobility during a game because of this, I would be cautious and take him out of a game to protect him, because he is a key asset for this organization going forward. And the big thing that concerns me and what will determine his growth today, and again, Malik Nabers is a huge loss for his growth, but what will determine Jaxson Dart's growth will be, can he survive this season behind this offensive line? And you even saw it today with Herbert. I mean, they were down multiple starters, and yes, he got hit a lot, but he was only sacked twice with this really great defensive line. The Chargers were getting after Jaxson Dart. They were blowing him up on a couple of plays, and the biggest thing I would be worried about is if he takes too many hits, because 6 sacks today is way too many. And I understand he's going to take more sacks than a Russell Wilson because he's still processing. He's still judging the field. He's still trying to read the defense. He's still going through his reads. He's holding on the ball. He's thinking, if I hold it just a little bit longer, I can get it out. I can make a play. This Giants offensive line has to play better. This Giants offensive line has to find the right combination out there, because I'm curious to see what the pressure rates are going to be after this game. But it just felt like there wasn't an offensive lineman out there today that you felt confident in. And it felt like this offensive line was just getting overwhelmed at certain points in this game. And maybe that's one of the reasons that they went for it on the 4th down. Maybe they're trying to end the game there so they could potentially not have to put Dart back onto the field. But this Giants offensive line, which we know is an issue, we know it will be an issue throughout this season. It is a unit that this team has to figure out, because they have to be able to hold it together. They have to be able to protect. They have to be able to keep this young quarterback who has shown you at least in one game that he has the talent to make plays and be able to make a huge impact. And the only way he is going to do that is if he is healthy and if he is upright. But they cannot have that same type of day today. Yes, the offense worked. Yes, the offense scored points, but they cannot have Jaxson Dart take a beating. They cannot have Jaxson Dart take all these shots, because if he does, if he gets injured, that stunts his development. But then you start to worry about his confidence, because you can be the most confident guy in the world, but if you keep getting hit over and over and over again, you might not lose confidence in yourself, but you can. But you also lose confidence in your teammates and the guys in front of you, that they are going to be able to make the plays to make you a successful quarterback. So the Giants will have a fun victory Monday as Jaxson Dart impresses in his debut. We wait for confirmation on Malik Nabers, but it seems like he is out for the season. Hopefully this will be another reason on the laundry list of reasons why New York football fans want to see grass finally put in MetLife. I'm praying for that as well. But overall, I thought Jaxson Dart had a great game. I thought the defense played very well. I had some questionable coaching decisions from Brian Daboll, but ultimately they're able to get the win. It's something to build off of, especially as they head to New Orleans next week. And more importantly, this is a good first start for Jaxson Dart. Let's see if he can build on this in New Orleans. But once again, the most important aspect for him to be successful is for this offensive line to protect him. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on Rich Sports Talk. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of our next episodes. Comment below if you missed the live stream, if any of your questions or thoughts for future video ideas. And, of course, if you want to take us on the go or you want to listen to the show afterwards, we are available wherever podcasts are available. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here on Rich Sports Talk. Again, it will be a fun Victory Monday for the Giants and their fans as Jaxson Dart is off to a great start to the season. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here. We will see you next time here on Rich Sports Talk.